If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. Today, we are finally getting to a highly requested topic, and that is how to set up Gmail with your Laravel projects. Now, this isn't exactly a complex topic. However, there are some things that you're going to have to know and set up before you're actually able to follow along. So the first thing you're going to need is a Gmail account, and that should be pretty self-evident. But the other thing that you're going to need is to set up the back end of Gmail in order to work with using any external app alongside your email system. This is true for if you're using Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, whatever it is that you're using. The same is true for all of them. It's just figuring out what the process is, and that's what we're going to work on today. I have gone ahead and created yet another Gmail account to demonstrate this to you. And what you want to do first is you want to click this little menu button right here. And the first thing listed here is the account. Once you click that, it'll bring you over to this page over here, where is your backend essentially, where you have your security info, what you want to share, what you don't want to share, all that good stuff is in this part of the Google Suite. Now, something to keep in mind is that in Google's effort to be as transparent as possible, they have made changes to how they do things, especially when it comes to third-party apps and having your data accessed by third-party apps that do not have Google somewhere in the name or Gmail or whatever it is. They have changed things along the way. What you can do is you can go ahead, head over to security, and in order for all of this to work, you do need to make sure that you have some two-factor authentication setup. Now, there's multiple ways to do this. I don't suggest using a recovery phone or email, but as you can see, my recovery email is just the other dummy account that I made. But you can also use an authenticator app, just some kind of two-step verification. Now, if this is something for your own personal websites or something that you're building for someone else, then you can always change that to some sort of two-factor authentication for the client or what have you. But in order for this to work, you do need to make sure that you have two-factor set up. The other thing is, in order to do this, you can't just directly connect it, right? You need to create some sort of barrier in between your actual credentials and whatever application it is that you're building. So what you want to do here is you want to go up to the search and you want to type in app password or passwords. It's right here. And they have made it a little bit difficult to find, but that's where it is. Just do a search for it. Then you want to go ahead and just log in with whatever your credentials are. You may not have to do this, but because you're accessing the backend, you probably will. But what you want to do is you want to create an app password, and this is the password that you're going to use in your app. Consider it a virtual password. So this is the password that you're going to use on your app instead of your actual Gmail password. You can call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it Laravel Gmail Demo. We'll go ahead and create it. Of course there was an error generating. Okay, there we go. And this is going to be your app password now. You can go ahead and try to use mine, but it's going to be deleted by the time that you guys access this. And to be honest, it's not really an account I care about anyway, so it is what it is. This is going to be your password for your app. For now, I'm just going to leave this here just so that we can move on. We will come back and add this into our project. Let's head over to the project and basically build something really quick. What I thought we'd start with is a basic contact form, and this contact form, we'll just imagine it's on our beautiful, beautiful website, and someone decides, hey, I want to send this person a message, and that's basically what we're going to set up. How we're going to do this, we're going to create a migration, we're going to create a controller, a model, and then we'll deal with the page in a bit. So let's start off with that basic setup. Make model. I'll just call it message, and for message, I will have the migration, and we don't really need a factory. Something I also forgot is that I do want to make a controller, so we'll do that as well. We'll make it invocable, and then it'll be message controller. And we'll also attach the model of message. All right, let's go and see if that did that correctly. Have our message model. I'll close this for right now. We have our controller. It did not make invocable. I might have forgotten the class on it, but it did bring in the message model. And we have the database here. So all I want to do is I want to just create a few fields. First one will be a string, and for that we'll do the name. Now keep in mind, whether or not we set up authentication doesn't matter. You can configure it to use authenticated users, but it doesn't really matter for the purposes of our demo. Anyone with the name, which they probably do have, and an email address will be able to do this. So here will be email, and then we'll have a subject. And then here we'll have body of the message, and I'll make this a text field so that in case we have bigger messages, we can have a little bit more space. So let's go and add those to our message model. Name, email, subject, and body. These are good for right now, and the controller we'll deal with in a moment. But what I want to do is I want to go and take a look at our welcome view, because that's the only route that we have. And so this is here. And I have found a template that we can use. So I'll get rid of this. It's also going to use Tailwind, but for now, I'm just going to get rid of all this because we're not going to be needing it. We're just going to create the contact form on the welcome view. So let's go and check the browser and make sure that we just have a clean, clear page. Okay, good. So there's nothing here. Now, something I also want to show you, because people are always curious as to what it is I'm using exactly, which it doesn't really matter all that much, but I'm using Laravel 11, and the only thing I'm really using relevant to anything is Sail 126, and that's the version, and we're not actually using anything from our package.json because we're not going to have to compile anything. So we can close that up. The template that I'm going to use is from Flowbyte, and this is what it looks like. It just says contact us with an email subject. We'll add a name message to this and a send button, and that's pretty much all that we're going to need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this body, and I'm just going to go ahead, paste it in. The code will be in the description down below so that you guys can have this as well. But for now, this is what our code is going to look like. And I'm also going to bring in some Tailwind. All this is really is just the Tailwind CDN. And then we've added some configurations for this template, and that's coming directly from Flowbyte. I'll also leave a link to that down in the description as well. But we have some fonts in here. We have some colors, and that's pretty much all that is here. And that's what that's saying, right? So let's go and see what this looks like. Okay, great. So we have a beautiful contact form, and we have our name field, we have our email field, subject, and message. Because it's a form, we need to add a few things to the form tag. So if we come down to where it says form here, for our action, we'll have route. And we haven't created this. We'll do this in a bit, but it'll be messages store. And then we also need a method on it. This method will be post. And then we also need the CSRF in here because we are creating a field, and this is for our CSRF protection. For the values, all we need to do is value equals old name for the first one. And this is so that if something changes with the user or something, they get a validation or whatever, then this field will still be there when they go back to this page. Here will be email. This will be subject. And in here, it will be body. And also keep in mind on these fields that we have the ID and the name as well, because Laravel does need that. But our button is a submit button, so essentially our form is good. Let's go ahead and make the route before we get to the controller. We don't need to worry about putting any middleware or anything on it because, as I said, anybody should be able to do this. It'll be to slash messages, and then it'll be message controller class, the store, and then we just called it messages store. So let's go ahead and import this up top, and there it is. Head into the controller. And for now, I'm just going to use the default email that we have, which I think for me is MailPit. Let me go and look. For me, it'll be MailPit. For you, it might be something else, but I just want to test it and make sure that we'll be able to get an email. But before that, I want to make sure that we can send this to the database so that we have a record of it. I'm going to say message create. Because we're making a request, I'm going to need to add that in here. So what are our fields? Well, we have the name, and that'll be the request field, the request name, colon under here. And then this will be email, subject, body. I don't want it to go anywhere because we only have the one page, so we'll just return message and I'll make this a variable. Let's just do this and make sure that we can get this to the database. Go ahead, we'll refresh the page, we'll fill it with some information, send message. Okay, so I'm not sure if there was an error or anything. Don't know, let's check the database. Oh, you know what? I didn't run the migrations. Okay, we'll refresh this. It actually went to the messages route. Shouldn't have done that. We'll refresh, fill it in, messages. I set up something wrong here. The web host store. I'm not really sure why that is. Let's try this again. I'm going to clear the cache. Let's just check the database and see if we're getting it in here. Messages, message, and we're not even getting that. Interesting. I think that's because even if we put the CSRF here, up here, we don't have the token. So let's give this a try and see. Oh, no, I know exactly what it is because I put this in the index. That's what I did wrong. So let's go ahead and paste it here because this is the correct function. It wouldn't be one of my videos if I didn't mess up. Let's try it again. Refresh, fill it in. Body cannot be null. Well, why would body be null? First, let's see what we're getting. Name, email, subject. Oh, because I put message instead of body. So we have body, body. Body. Oh, this should be body here. And before we try it again, let's get rid of the try and dump. Try to refresh. Fill it in. Send. Okay, good. So now you can see we have a message. If we come to our database and refresh it, we have that message in here. Great. So the first part of this is done. We are going to go ahead and we are going to use the default mailer, but we do need to create a mailable. I'm going to open this up. And if we head over to the mailable documentation from Laravel, this is going to walk us through on how to do it. So we can generate mailables, we can just write a basic mailable, and then we can also do markdown mailables where we can style some different things. Now, you can also use notifications. Notifications are fine, but notifications, typically what I do is I'll use notifications if I want to use other things. So like if I want to do SMS, if I want to do not just sending it through an email, but I want to do something a little bit more robust in terms of notifications with the app. So let's say you have a notification bell or something like that, and you want someone to click it like it was a like button, then this notifications would be a good way to go. But for us, for our purposes, setting it up this way is just fine. If you know how to do it this way, then you'll be able to do it with the notifications as well, because it is the same process of just getting Gmail set up with your Laravel application. We'll go down to generate markdown mailables, and the command is PHP artisan make mail, and then whatever the mailable will be, this is where the markdown will be in its folder, which will be mail, blah, blah. So let's go ahead and create this. I'm just going to go ahead and paste this in, and then we'll change it. The name of the mailable, I just want it to be message sent, and it will be in the mail folder under message. Instead of ship, it'll be sent. Keep forgetting I'm not using PHP like normal. So good. Our mailable was sent, our view was sent. And if we go to the views, mail, message, sent blade, this is what that looks like. And I'm going to just go ahead and close this out. This is what our mailable looks like essentially. And if we go up to our, let me close this. If we go to app, mail, message sent, this is the new mailable that we just created. We have a constructor here. We have an envelope with the subject message sent. We have the content, which will be what's in the markdown file. And then there's also a space for attachments. This is the default setup. So I'm going to go to the message controller and I'm going to set it up so that we can actually send this message. It'll be mail to, and who do we want this mail to go to? Well, we can't actually do it to the request user because this request user isn't actually a user in our database, so this isn't going to make any sense. But what we can do is do it to email, since that's what we have. The person who sent this email has added their request email, and that's what we're passing in to this mailable. So we're going to send them a message letting them know that we received it. We're going to send the new mailable class, which for us is mail sent, message sent. Go ahead and import these. This one will be the app mail message sent. That's our mailable name. And then we're going to be using this facade for mail. If we go to the .env, because I'm using Sail, as I said, this is going to be MailPit. It's already set up. I don't have to do anything for this at this time. This should be fine. So now if we go back to the project and we go ahead and refresh, it's going to resend the same message, but you see it's ID2, so it's just essentially the same message. In the database, if we refresh it, you see that we have the same message from the same email. All the information is the same. We never cleared it out, so it's the exact same message, but it is the second message in our database. Now we can go to, I think it's localhost. It's either 8025 or 1025 for me, MailPit. There it is. And if we open it up, you can see we have from Laravel, hello, message sent. This is the default mailable because we haven't changed anything in there yet, but our mailable does work. So let's go and fill in the mailable in the view and get it so that it says what we want it to say. Now, again, we have just come up on Laravel 11, so things are a little bit different than they were before, where you could just create a public property message or whatever. In here, we do need to pass in this message. So we'll say message, as we have the variable up here, we can get rid of this die and dump. And in our message, we need to add that in here so that we have the information from that request. Get rid of this, and actually we'll get rid of, or we'll just close the space on here. But here we can open up the parentheses and just do public message. We'll import our model message. It's the same thing. It works the same way as it used to, where you're creating a public property and this message you'll be able to use throughout your email. Also, doing it this way means that we don't actually have to pass the variables into here anymore. We can just leave it as it is, and that's fine. So let's go over to our template and we'll just change it up a bit, just a little bit, just so that we can make sure that we're getting the variables from that property. I'll just say hi, and then I'll say message name, since we do have that. Then I'll just add a line break. Then I'll say your message has been sent. And then I'm going to create a little bit of a space. So we'll say subject. And this will be the message subject. And I'll just copy this. Because really what we're doing is we're also testing that we can see the message in the email that we're passing in. Then we have button text. And what I want to do is I want to change this to, I'll just change it to use our config values, and it'll be app.url, and that'll just bring us back to localhost, because in the .env, this is the app URL, it's just localhost. So let's try to send this message again and make sure that all of this is working. Okay, no error. You should have a new email. It's right up here. Okay, so it's to whoever that email is. This is the name of that user. Your email has been sent. This is the subject, and this is the message of those emails. And if we click that, it'll take us back to our welcome view. And I should really fix that. Put down. And this I need to put into some curly brackets. Okay, good. So we can close this. We can close this. Everything is still the same. But now let's get into the meat and potatoes of what we set out to do. Now that we know that our email is working and we have a backup in our database, we can go ahead and set up our environment file to handle our mail. Close all of these out. Now the documentation, as I said, has been a bit tricky when it comes to mail and Gmail. So we're just going to run through it, and I don't really have anything to point you to, as I had a bunch of different resources that I took a look at. So the first thing we need to do is set up the mailer. Now, Google is going to use the SMTP as the mailer, so that can be left alone. That's fine. Which means that instead of MailPit, we can do smtp.gmail.com. The mail port is going to be 465, and the username will be our email. So for me, it's nikosdummy7@gmail.com. And that'll also be the mail from address. So we can just grab that and do that in here. You don't need parentheses on that. The encryption, we're going to set it up to have TLS, and that'll just make it a bit more secure. And then we do need to grab that password that we created in the beginning. So this is my app password. I'm going to go ahead, copy it. And in here, I'm going to open up some curly brackets, and I'm going to paste that in. Now I'm doing the not the curly brackets. I'm doing the parentheses because the values in this password are separated. And so in order to have it read it correctly, we'll put it in parentheses. This way the .env file can be read to grab those credentials from here. We should be good at this point. Let's go and try to mail it again and see if it comes to our Gmail now. Go ahead, refresh. And as you can see, it's taken a bit longer, and that's because it is using the Gmail. We have the fourth mail. We come to our inbox. It, of course, is not going to be in the inbox because we didn't send an email to ourselves. We're responding to an email. We're responding to an email that was sent from our app. That's why we're getting this. So we can see in our sent folder that from our app, nikosdummy7@gmail to, this is the response email that has sent the message that we're responding to. And as you can see, this is the email. We have successfully connected Gmail to our Laravel app. Now, I know I was making a lot of jokes about Gmail's transparency or Google's transparency when it comes to connecting third-party apps to your Gmail account, but the reality is that you will only have your email and password as authentication for something like this. I would consider, even though this video is about Gmail, this will hopefully give you guidance on how you can do with other email providers like Proton or just whatever it is, just something else that is way more secure, way more privacy focused. If that's something that you want to do, especially if it's for your own, your own products for yourself. But that's just my personal 2 cents. I have to use Gmail because I make content on YouTube. Google and YouTube are friends. It's just the nature of the beast, right? At least now you know how to do it. Something I also want to say is that the idea for this video was part of a list of different suggestions and requests from you guys. And even though it takes me a long while to get to some of the things that you guys ask, I'm more than happy to take suggestions and requests if you guys want to look at something specific and it's actually within my capabilities. It'll probably be something a lot sooner. Well, that's not exactly true, but it will be added to the list, and I'll just get to it when I get to it. It is a rolling list. I have about 50 entries on there for potential projects or videos or whatever it is. So just let me know down below if you have suggestions, and hopefully it's something that will be easy for me to either learn or easy for me to kind of put together, and I'll just go ahead and add it to the list, and then just will continue to do that. I will not build your projects for you because I don't work on your project. I am not a team member on your project, right? So just keep that in mind when you're asking me. If you're enjoying the content, please go ahead and click that like button as it really does help out the channel. Here's a video YouTube thinks you'll like, and here's a playlist to follow along. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.